We're in the Toyota RAV4. It's a hybrid. Wait, brace for startup.
Nothing.
It's currently running. You hear all that noise? What
Yeah.
you're hearing is cars passing because this is the hybrid currently running.
You're watching Everyday Driver. We make a TV show, podcast,
and YouTube channels dedicated to great cars, driving adventures, and helping you find a car you'll love.
subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing.
I want to take you way back to 1997.
Okay.
A couple of reasons is because it was then that the Prius was launched, the original Prius, okay? And also the original RAV4, which came out in a two-door, and it was cute, right?
In 95, it came right around the same time.
It came out in 94, 95, but the EV version came out also in 97.
Interesting
Keep
point.
that in mind while I discuss the 97 4Runner. That is exactly the same size as this. As a matter of fact, the new RAV4 is slightly longer. It's a little bit wider, just as heavy. Now the RAV4 is the same size as the old 4Runner.
Which originally, the RAV4 was originally the first compact SUV.
Right.
It's not compact anymore.
Exactly. So think about this. It used to be in 97 just the 4Runner and the Land Cruiser, and that was the SUV offerings. Now the Highlander, the 4Runner, the Sequoia, and the Land Cruiser ahead of it.
Well, isn't there also, what is the other one? The
Astounding.
CR,
whatever. CHR is below this in terms of size, but that's a little
But
CUV
it's still
kind of
technically supposed to be their SUV lineup. I mean, this is why, we keep talking about it. We keep driving these SUVs for these fast blasts. I mean, SUV is becoming a really broad term that is almost encompassing a company's entire lineup.
Well, that's my point. So imagine the Prius comes out, the first RAV4 EV it was really designed for fleets. It wasn't for us consumers.
True.
And all of that convergence to now hybrid RAV4. It's all that technology that they have developed and refined and all those kinds of things over the years, and now culminating in an old 4Runner size.
This has got a lot of space.
That's the RAV4 now.
Yes. This is competing against like the Mazda CX-5 and the Honda CR-V. This is the class that we're in. But the RAV4, this is the 5th gen of the RAV4. Last full calendar year, this RAV4 nearly sold 500,000 units. It was like the 3rd or 4th most bought car in the US. The RAV4.
But the best-selling Toyota product of all the Toyota cars.
Yes, it was.
It's this one. It isn't Camrys. And it's right up there with Ford F-150s and pickup trucks of every size and shape. It's the RAV4. There's 9 flavors.
Well, we are in
RAV4.
We are in the press car special, which means the loaded out hybrid edition, which means this is almost $40,000.
It's $37,700.
Struggle with it at $40,000, but it is the hybrid version. This is, you want the Prius running gear, which, let's be honest, love it or hate it, we're not fans, but love it or hate it, it is the best engineered and refined hybrid system at this point.
It is.
And it is that system in an SUV shape. You don't want something that looks like a hybrid, but it still is a hybrid. This gets like 40 miles to the gallon all the time.
For the size of this thing, for what it can do, the capability, it's got trail mode, it's got some off-road styling and capability to it.
It's trying to,
This is astounding for 40 miles to the gallon and better. You can also tell when the gasoline engine shuts off completely. Because on your instrument panel here, you don't have a tach anymore. It just dies into eco mode and then goes back up.
You've just got a
needle
that constantly changes from power to eco to charge to off. There's no idea what gear you're in because it doesn't have gears. It's got a CVT. It's just all you know is the propulsion of some kind is happening. Power is being pushed, let's be honest, either to the wheels or to the battery. It's just like this ebb and flow constantly. Of course, when it's us driving, it's just going to the wheels. It's rarely returning.
Hunting for corners. You're not really hunting for corners, even though the marketing materials claim that it's got some level of handling. Toyota knows handling, right? But this is not designed to be. So, for those of you shopping, you're considering the RAV4, especially the hybrid. I can easily tell you to go buy one. I'm amazed by this car, and the more I dig into the specs and what this car is and how it's grown...
Let's be honest, the Camry is the size of the old, 5 Series BMW. I mean, everything's gotten bigger, but this is a full-size 5-seat. It's competing with things like the Cayenne in size. The Mazda CX-5 is its direct competitor. I want to talk about the Mazda CX-5 for a minute, because it's hard to spec a Mazda CX-5 to 40 grand. It's difficult to do.
Even the Grand Touring,
Now, they don't have a
almost
hybrid.
there.
They don't have a hybrid. So
No,
that's the thing
no.
that you would say, I want the gas mileage, you get into this. I have to say, honestly, though, dynamics-wise and interior-wise, I'd rather be in the CX-5. This feels like it's on its tiptoes all the time.
I agree.
This drives like an economy car, way up on stilts, like it's not sure of itself. It's a deer learning to walk. It has that kind of feel. It doesn't have a planted, confidence-inspiring dynamics. I realize that's not the point. I get that. But this has much more of a kind of fragile, uncertain feel on its really jacked up suspension. Hey, you like the word jounce, which is the gap, right? Am I right? It's the gap between the top of the wheel and the top of the fender.
Yes, it is.
It's like you could like stick portions of my like a whole elbow.
You could stick a ham in this.
It's insane.
Jounce
it
area.
Shouldn't have that much clearance.
But they've lowered the floorboards, made it easier to get in, and actually increased the clearance, the off-road clearance. That's impressive. That's what's amazing about this.
But are you really going off-roading in this? Especially if you buy the hybrid. Aren't you really just buying this to get gas mileage? And at that point, why are we jacked up? But then, of course, the argument comes in. You bought a CUV because you want a high ride height. So now this is where we suffer for high ride height, because now we're way up here, and I'm not that. I'm on my tiptoes. And when you consider it with something like this, I kind of keep coming back to the CX-5. That has excellent driving dynamics and this amount of space. It doesn't have the Toyota name, the major selling points, and it isn't a hybrid.
I feel like the CX-5 is less room than this, to be honest.
It has less cargo space. I don't think it has less space anywhere else, but I think it does have. This has got a lot
deep
of cargo space.
Around my legs, it just feels deep and wide and just more space.
It's got a ton of space. I will give it that. It's kind of amazing. The more seats and stuff you get in, the more stuff you try to put in, you just realize, this is large. I can shove tons of stuff in here, which, let's be honest, it's the other reason we're buying CUVs. This interior is simple, but I think it's actually, it's close to the price point. I feel like this is a $30,000 interior.
In terms of stuff?
Yeah, it feels like about a $30,000 interior. We're at 37 because we paid for hybrid and a lot of extras, and it's got this package and that package. But I think it's close to its price point. You were talking space. The rear seat has shocking space.
Yeah, it's
when
great.
You sit down in there with you and I in a seating position, there's like 4 or 5 inches plus in front of my kneecaps. I mean, the Cayenne doesn't have that, for example.
Sure.
The CX-5 has almost that much in the second row. This is a real success in packaging, for sure.
I agree. They've rethought everything about this in terms of where you're sitting, your ride height here, and they're really playing into that.
Yeah.
As far as, I want to be up, I want to have that high feeling, which it does.
I want to drive everywhere on my tiptoes. Oh, look out!
Back to your thought about off-roading. Okay. There is more trail capability. It's not made to go rock crawling in Moab. That is not the point. They make SUVs.
My RAV4 is trail rated. Where can we steal one of the Jeep badges and slap it on the side just because you could see
under hybrid? Can you put it under hybrid?
You could see
right
the
there?
shock tower.
You can, actually.
Which is fine if you buy a Ford Raptor, I can see my suspension.
Yes.
That's really cool. You buy a RAV4, what are you doing? What are you
doing?
doing?
Where it started out as cutesy, and then it's graduated to this, and I think the look and the extra capability is one tire change away. Look at this car from the outside.
Okay.
The reason it just looks a little off based on its really rugged styling is because of tires. If they had a little bit knobbier, you wouldn't even need to raise the car. We're already there.
You're right.
If it had a
bigger
little
wheel and
bit
tire setup.
beefier,
you're right.
Just keep the wheels, a little bit beefier tires, and it would actually look pretty boss. Suddenly it looks the part.
So here's the irony. We're going to buy the hybrid version of the RAV4 because that gets 40 miles to the gallon. We're going to put a knobbier wheel and tire setup and get it down to 30 and still be thrilled with ourselves.
That's
because
for all the rest of the models.
other.
That's for the first 5 trim levels you can do that with.
But if you want a powerful RAV4 that feels like it has grunt off the line, you have to get this hybrid.
It's this one.
Because this hybrid setup, for all of the reasons you might buy it for gas mileage, it has that electric surge off the line that matches to the 4-cylinder. This is the most powerful, quickest RAV4 you can buy.
With 219 horsepower, by the way.
But a significant horsepower increase over the normal version because of that electric motor.
Usually, back in the day, and still sometimes, there's always a nature theme to what the Japanese do to a styling approach for a car.
What was this, cracked rock?
No, it was math. It's all about
math?
Polygons and actually octagons. The marketing brief says
My head
2
hurts.
intersecting octagons plus 2 trapezoids to make the front.
Is this why?
And then there's 6 lines, 6 parallel lines on the back of it. Everything is an octagon. Look around the car.
Is this why it does all the geometric shapes when you turn it on?
Yes.
By the way, there's sport mode.
Yes.
I know that because the dashboard just went red.
There we go. Oh, now we needed sport.
It's got slight increase in throttle. Actually, that's not fair. That's not fair. It's not that there's an increase in throttle response. It's there you go. But see, this is the powerful RAV4. By the way, we're passing a Nissan Rogue.
I just said find out.
That's
tonight.
almost.
Did we find out?
That's almost
We found out.
like we planned it, because the other thing that sells just under the RAV4
Right,
is
good
the
point.
Nissan Rogue.
Good point.
So anyway,
This styling has actually made this more truck-like, and that's what they've gone after. They've looked back at all their other truck products and made this even more appealing by virtue of its styling, and they had to rely on octagons to do it, but I say I didn't like it at first, and now I get it.
Well, it does have a rugged look, which the RAV4's never had, and that's the thing that all of
From the beginning.
But that's the thing that all of these CUVs are trying to sell us. You want to get the CUV and not the minivan because it looks like a truck.
I could downshift. No paddles, but I could downshift.
Well, but you're not downshifting. You're
No,
telling
I'm
the
not.
CVT to do something different.
I know.
I want to get back to the modes here and the fact that you're shifting
Yeah.
and those kind of things. When you have it in eco mode, it does everything it can to ignore the fact that you hit the accelerator.
This is true.
It
It feels
obsesses
slow.
over the brakes. It lusts after the brake pedal.
Well,
And then you put it into
Yes.
sport, and that's when it actually operates, honestly, like you expect a normal vehicle to move. The way that it responds to the gas pedal. And kudos to Toyota. They have now nailed regenerative brake feel. It doesn't feel any different than normal braking. It just feels like a pedal.
it does, but because of this Prius technology that they have introduced on this car, it's now encouraging the hypermiling and the type of driving that Prius drivers do.
It is, for sure.
The leaves are going to grow on the instrument panel if I
You
brake
can watch
a little bit.
You get
the
obsessed
tree
with
is
your
growing, and you want to make the needle dip into the charge portion of the needle, and so you're accelerating slowly, and then you're braking really hard so you can make the charge
turns
happen.
you into that person. But you
Yes,
can, and
it's
you can watch
encouraging that.
your power flow on the gas on the instrument. Is it coming from the battery? Is it coming from the gas?
Ooh, but I'm still in the eco zone. Hey, it's all good. I'll put it back
if
over
you
in the
floor it from
top
a stop,
gear.
it shows you that all 4 wheels are currently getting information from the gasoline motor.
I wish that it turned into a tack because you're flooring it, so
There's no tack,
suddenly you're at whatever 6,000 RPM. Let's
no
show
tack,
me that.
no gears,
No.
braking that is regenerative. They're disconnecting you. Now, to its credit, in sport mode, the brakes feel like a normal car. The accelerator feels like a normal car. You have that electric motor to give it that. One of the electric motor side notes is that when you get to low speed or you sit still, there's a high-pitched whine that I keep looking over my shoulder because
I heard it too.
sounds like a siren, like 3 blocks
I
away.
know.
And so you're sitting at a busy intersection going, do I need to stay here?
It's that
Are the
high-pitched-
police coming? Where's the fire truck? It's you. It's the sound of you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the powertrain, there's 2 electric motors. I actually looked under the back.
Okay.
The power pack is actually under the back seat now, so the hump is greatly reduced, the middle transmission hump. So that's a good thing. That just means more interior space. I really want to upshift right now. How about, well, see,
But you
I'm in the
can't
power
shift.
zone.
It's just CVT, just groaning away
But
while
it's
it
only,
chases.
Interestingly, it's only CVT on the hybrid. It is an 8-speed auto
Fair,
on the
fair.
actual gasoline
Yeah.
engines. And what's cool is it's got this drive shaft disconnect thing to the rear wheels. So it's mostly a front wheel drive car until you
course it
need the
is.
rear wheel
Of course it
drive.
is. Yeah.
But what's cool on the hybrid is the motors are back there. So you're getting that rear wheel drive feeling like a bigger truck feel.
It's helping
That's
that
really
feel,
interesting
for
to
sure.
me.
Yeah. The only thing I think is compelling about this is the fact that you've got the fastest RAV4 with the best gas mileage.
My RAV4 is the fastest.
Well, here's the thing though. Generally, let's be honest, if you got the fastest version of anything, the gas mileage was the worst. This is a complete swap of that equation.
Very true.
You have the
That's a great
fastest
point.
one that also has the best gas mileage, but you did spend almost 40 grand. I think the interior struggles to be 40 grand, and I think the dynamics definitely aren't.
Fair
They
enough.
aren't.
They're not. I mean,
I know it's not the
they've
point.
worked on handling a little bit, and it's got a really super quick turn-in followed by a lot of body roll and weight.
Yes. Well, but
Not ideal,
I
but
stay
we're
with
not
the fact that
expecting
it's
that.
on its tiptoes.
We're not
I
expecting
don't.
that.
I don't need it to be a corner carver, but I don't want to feel like it's on its tiptoes. I want to take that jounce and drop it, and now we're just in a hatchback.
You
from
want to
Toyota.
cut your jounce in half?
I do.
Don't you? Yeah. Okay, so here's what's amazing. no longer can you associate SUV with, I can't commute in that. It's going to be too much on the gas.
True. That is true.
This has changed all that thinking.
You're right. Yeah, for sure.
And yes,
for
you're going to dip in, on traffic. You're going to, dip into the charge arena on the dash here, and you're going to drive in eco mode everywhere. You can even just select EV mode only.
You can challenge yourself.
The cool thing is,
make it a game. I did my miles per gallon game today. It was great. Please don't tell us how well you're doing on your hybrid gaming. I don't want to know.
But that is interesting. That means this could be a one car for an entire family. It could actually mean commuting in this, and you've got some trail-ish fire road capability. There's a rock or two in the road.
Toyota
has feel.
I
you
see
could do it.
Toyota has succeeded in making a true CUV for the family with good room that you can actually say that's okay for gas mileage. And in some cases, it beat the car we got rid of,
which is amazing.
It is. That is good.
And it's bigger. Kayaking. You're going to take up kayaking now, aren't you?
RAV4 for kayaking.